got your albums all sorted?
I do. I do.
Right. Okay. This is not really. I was looking at the version of what we did last year for
Hmm.
this, which
Yeah.
was kind of like also talking about who might bring stuff out in 2024.
Which has become kind of a silly thing to do because it turns out like a lot of times it's like, oh, this would be great to hear from them, and then you don't hear from them until like 2 years later.
Well, well, I thought we could start. Well, actually, should we? I guess we've started now, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Do we call this the Christmas episode instead of having to search around for a number?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it'll have a number on it, but at this
Yeah.
point, who
It's
cares what
Christmas
number it is?
special episode. Is it 22?
It's in the 20s, somewhere
It's
around
in the
there.
20s. Episode in the 20s. Happy Christmas, and all that. And yeah, last time we were doing this, we were talking about stuff that we wanted to hear in 2024.
Yeah,
And I said one of the things I was looking forward to hearing in 2024 was the Kerry King album. And now I've heard it.
yeah, yeah.
So anyway, next year.
I don't even remember what I said, but I'm pretty sure it was the same ones that I'm looking forward to now because they're taking forever to come out, like Anthrax and Sacred Reich,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
I can't even think of what's been announced for this next year so far, but
What, Led Zeppelin?
no, that's not true. That's not a real thing.
I know.
Have you been falling for those too?
No. I actually there was a BBC radio program that it's a sports quiz show, but it's kind of like comedic as well. And they fell for it, and they said with the news that Led Zeppelin are reforming and putting a new album out, and it's just like, oh, you fell for it too. Oh
Yeah,
dear.
but it doesn't help that especially in on like Facebook, there are all these like quote unquote rock and metal pages that will
Oh
post
yeah,
anything to get
yeah,
views.
clicks. Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
and unfortunately, a lot of people, especially the people that regularly use Facebook, can't tell the difference, and so they end up sharing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, all this bullshit gets like sent around, and so it's speaking of that. Did you see my comment on the acid rain thing? It made me laugh, but I think it was just a me joke, where you said the last with somebody from this lineup at this acid rain show, and I put finally they're going to replace H with Jizzy Pearl.
Yeah, and I liked that, mate. I liked that. I liked that a lot.
I just thought about like because like it seems like that's that dude that like is the new singer in all sorts of different bands from the
Yeah.
80s. It's like, oh, who they got? They got Jizzy Pearl. All right.
Yeah, and to be fair, old Jizzy's keeping himself busy. Busy Jizzy.
He definitely is. I don't know if he would do your songs justice, but you know.
Well, I know one thing for sure. I would not do any love-hate songs justice. So
That guy's got a hell of a range on him. Let me say.
yeah, it's not so much the range. It's more the delivery. It's more that kind of like sleazy kind of what do you think they call it dope kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And apologies if you're listening to the podcast and that just like freaked out because sometimes when you hit certain frequencies on Zoom and it just goes, yeah, I'm giving up with that. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna record that.
it could be absolute silence.
Yeah. I just need to learn to get the mic further away from my mouth when doing stupid impressions.
Yeah, but so yeah, I'm literally coming up blank for things that I heard that were announced for next year, simply because I've gotten so jaded because it's been several years now of me just going, "Ooh, this would be nice," and then it doesn't come out. I mean, I remember there was supposed to be a new Carcass album for like 2 years, and then it finally came out. So I'm just like, you know what? Everyone just take your time, do whatever you want to do. I'll be here when it comes
Yeah.
out. So
Well, funnily enough, there's two albums that came out this year. I say we go for kind of like this, a more sort of organic chit chat rather than right. This album,
okay,
than like
yeah,
we normally do.
all right,
So, ironically, the Kerry King thing I was looking forward to. And when compiling lists and stuff, I've had to remind myself that it came out this year. I've had to remind myself that it exists. I have to remind myself that I've got the CD. I have to remind myself to play it. And I just kind of, when I do, I kind of go, yeah, this is pretty good. And then I just forget about it, and it will not stick. And I know I've said this here before. So it's it's an also ran. I can't kind of put any kind of like, yeah, that's in my list.
Yeah.
Validity to it at all. But it struck me that two albums that I have really, really liked, one adored, that came out this year, were by two bands who haven't put albums out for years, and as this time last year, had no idea that they were working on albums and that they were going to be coming out this year. So I think that's why that's a really good idea of making the what albums are we looking forward to coming out next year. Let's make that feature redundant, because basically, and that is Dath, who which is insane, and Mammal, the Penny Drop, which I absolutely love it, and it's got better and better and better and better.
Did you do a top albums of the year podcast yet?
No, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, mine when this comes out, mine will be a week later. So
right, yeah.
I'm still tweaking them and stuff.
Yeah, same here. But it's really weird, those two albums, like Daft, The Hinderers, and Mammal. Yeah, both grown on me, but in very different reasons. As soon as I heard the Hinderers, I was like, wow, that's insane. That's Daft. Nobody else does this. And I got a few layers in, and at times it's almost impenetrable. It's so technically brilliant, and I mean, it is just incredible. But it's not an easy listen. Yeah, that's for sure. It's work listening to, which is fine. I like that. But Mammal, I played it the first few times. First time I played it, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about the production. After that, I was kind of like, right, I know what they're going for here. Okay, cool. And as Zeke said himself on Talking Bollocks, it's kind of like a 90s sound they were going for. And I played it a few times. I was like, yeah, no, this is really good. No, yeah, I really like this. I didn't see how much I liked it coming. I didn't listen to it and think there's so much depth there, I'm going to be listening to it in 6 months. But I am. Yeah. And I'm really surprised by that, because there's such different, the Hinderers, I'm still trying to dig into all of the layers. Mammal, I think I'd done all the layers within about 5 listens, but there's something about the album that I just keep wanting to play it.
Yeah, and I that's really important for me when I'm putting together my lists, and a big reason why I kind of scoff at all the other lists you see online, because I'm all like, is this really an album that calls back to these people that they're going to go listen to over and over again, or is it like the cool album, so it goes at number 1? And I'm just like, yeah, I hate, like I've said it many times, I hate using the word best or greatest, because I'm just like, the albums that are going to be at the top of my list are going to be mostly albums that most people are going to go, what's that? And I'm like, yeah, but these are the ones that, as the year has gone on, like there's certain albums, they just, you're just sitting around doing something else and you're thinking about some song from that album, and then you go, well, I got to go listen to that again, because it's somehow found its way into your brain, and that portion of your brain where it sticks, and sometimes it's albums that you're not even expecting to stick. So
stuff that demands to be listened to, and that's my biggest problem with the Kerry King album, is it just doesn't demand to be listened to. It doesn't make me go, really want to play that again, or there's that song. It's just, I don't know. Anyway,
it sucks that also for him that all of a sudden Slayer's back, and so it's like
really weird.
And I read like a headline that said like he wasn't expecting it either, And I was like, oh, if that's true, then I feel kind of bad for him, because it's like, oh, I put together this band and this album, and now it's overshadowed by Slayer again.
Yeah.
And of course, why would he say no to doing Slayer again? Because I mean, that's his life. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, couldn't you have like given him time to do a tour for this album? I mean, fuck, he needs to. I feel bad for fucking Category 7 had to fucking cancel their tour because nobody's buying tickets for it. And I immediately thought, why don't they go on tour with Kerry King's band? That's a cool little package.
I immediately saw that story and went, guys, are you surprised? I mean, they were playing 1,000-cap venues, and what they and I get the slightly wrong-headed thinking, probably the live agent, which is, I've got the dude from Ex Machine Head and current Kerry King, and I've got the dude from Armored Saint. I've got these guys, putting them in, and it's one of those where you go, yeah, you have, but people who want to go see Armored Saint, it's just John Bush. Are they going to do any Armored Saint songs? Probably not. I'm not going to go. Oh, it's the dude from Machine Head. Are they going to play any? No. It's like, but he's in Kerry King's. Yeah, well, stop playing any of that stuff. Yeah. So in other words, yes, you've got all these guys, Jason Bittner from Overkill, from Flotsam. They're not going to be doing any. So yes, you've got all these people from all these bands.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, you've got one album out. And, just because you're from 4 or 5, bands who can draw, doesn't mean that you've got the draw of those 4 or 5 bands. And proof is in the pudding. And the proof is that you've got one album out. That's it. And to think that people were going to flock to see you live and book 1,000-cap venues, I think that was... It's easy in hindsight to say I think that was doomed from the start, but I think that was doomed from the start.
But also, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as you said with the Kerry King album. That Category 7 album may have had little things on it that I went, oh, that was kind of cool, but I never wanted to go back and listen to it again. It did not have anything that was that exciting. And somebody else pointed something interesting out that I knew in my brain, but I didn't actually think of. And they're like, they kind of fucked up with not only the band name, but the artwork for the album. Because both of them are just kind of like, eh. So there's probably a whole lot of people that may have actually liked what is on the album, but you look at it and you look at the name and you go, there's nothing exciting about this. This seems like old people rock.
I know what you mean, but also I think the percentage of people who get drawn in by artwork is incredibly small these days.
Oh man, I've got a fucking example of that today, getting drawn in by artwork and then liking.
Oh yeah, and I do as well, but I'm also prepared to accept that I'm the massive fucking minority.
Yeah,
it's like we're from the old school, although so are they. Yeah. But yeah, I really wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all.
I mean, it sucks because I want all those guys to be successful, because it's like, I like the idea of, we're living in a time now where some of these guys from some of the fastest and heaviest bands ever, I mean, including yourself, are still out there doing it. Which we've never lived through that time before. We've never. This is the first time. Yeah. This is the first time there's 50, 60-year-old dudes out there playing really fast music. This is it. This is the first time. So I look at them and I go, man, I want them to pack places. So I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if I don't really like the album that much, I still am on their side.
Oh look, me too. I'd love nothing more. But yeah, you're right. It hadn't really occurred to me, but. Yeah, I mean, metal in general is, is a fairly new genre, and we have started to lose some of the greats, like Lemmy. Well, whether you call them metal or not, but definitely Ronnie Dio.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do think like shit. This is a thing now.
Yep.
But
really I mean, I like it because I really think it sets up something cool for the future with younger people starting bands. And not only are they seeing people their age starting this music, but they're seeing, the people that influenced still out there doing it, and it doesn't seem so much like, oh, I need to focus on making it big right now, or else it doesn't matter. But you're like, oh no, you just keep fucking doing it. If it means something to you, who's to say you're too old to do it? If you want to get up on the stage, if fucking Ozzy wants to do one more Sabbath show and he's got to waddle out there and barely sing, fuck, I don't care. I mean, I love that he wants to do that. And so
yeah. Well, yes, as long as it's possible. I think seeing Lemmy's decline was quite sad.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was talking to Eddie on my other podcast about this, because a show that happened on the last Motorhead tour in Austin, where I used to live. That was the show where you see footage online where he has to stop the show and he has to apologize to everybody, and he says,
Yeah.
I just can't do it. And I'm like, that's fucking heartbreaking. But also, there's that part of me that goes, I love the fact that he did this shit that he wanted to do until he literally could not do it anymore. And
then he wasn't around, much longer after that.
No. But I mean, that's what he wanted to do. I mean, that's literally like his plans were to do it until he dropped, and he fucking did. So.
Well, need to plug the Motorcast here, the official Motorhead podcast, the Motorcast. If you want to hear all about Lemmy and Motorhead and some amazing stories, then just go and search the Motorcast in all podcast apps. There is no presence on YouTube or video. It is all purely audio podcast, but it's available in every podcast app.
Awesome.
So,
should we get on to reviewing some things?
Well, yeah, kind of. Have you got something new to review? Because I don't think I have.
I have 3 new things to review.
Oh wow, I'm going to be so bored.
And you will have heard of one of them, maybe.
Ooh, I'm excited, kids. I don't know about you.
I'll start and I'll try to blow through them.
You start throwing mud around, mate.
This is you may have heard of this one. Have you heard of this one? Better Lovers.
Oh, I tell a lie. I have got one to review.
Okay,
it's that one.
Yeah, so I wanted to start with this one because it's like the best known of the stuff that I'm doing, and so obviously you know them, Greg Puciato, or however you pronounce his name.
I've got the CD. The CD is in the post.
Oh, okay, and it's brand new band, so it's like it's Greg from Dillinger Escape Plan plus most of Every Time I Die, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting pairing because I'm a really big Dillinger Escape Plan fan. Not so much Every Time I Die. They were kind of hit or miss with me. Like I would hear a song
I agree.
go, ooh, and then other times it was kind of disappointing.
I found them frustrating for that very reason. Because I'd be like, oh my God, they've released something I can get into. Oh no, it's just one song. Never mind.
Yeah. And so I got this just based because I like Greg's vocal delivery stuff that he did with Dillinger. And the first single off of this I thought was fun. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna support
I liked his stuff in the band he did with Max as well.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Killer Be Killed.
Killer Be Killed. Yeah. I really like that. Both their albums.
Yeah, those are also cool. This one, I don't have a totally positive review about this because there's really nothing bad about it. And people that listen to a lot of music that revolves around Dillinger or Every Time I Die or those kind of bands are going to dig this.
Yeah.
My problem with this album, even though I enjoy it and there's some really cool shit on it, is that a lot of it sounds like shit I may have already heard.
Right, not what I was expecting.
It feels like a little bit more of the same for both. Like literally you take stuff that sounds like it could have been leftovers from Dillinger, stuff that it could have been leftovers from Every Time I Die, and you put it together.
Stuff that could have been left over from Killer Be Killed, because I heard a bit of Killer Be Killed in there.
Or that as well. But it's literally not a bad album at all. It just doesn't reach the height. It doesn't reach the heights that I would hope, and it wasn't surprising enough for me. Because the one thing that I always enjoyed about Dillinger Escape Plan is that every album had those songs that just sounded so much like Dillinger. You're like, another one of those again. But there would always be these 2 or 3 songs where you just go, what the fuck? I've never heard them do anything like that before. And I kind of wanted that a little bit more. And this is a little bit more of a restrained version of that sort of chaotic kind of grabbing from different genres and putting them together. All very well done, just not quite as exciting as I would have hoped. But that's
I think to be honest, I think you've read the book and the movie is slightly disappointing. And that's because the movie already exists in your head. This band already existed in your head, and it's not really lived up to it. And I absolutely get that. I do that myself. For me, I'm probably too early to pronounce on it, so it may end up in my albums of the year. Who knows? It may not. My only feeling, and I've only listened to it 2, maybe 3 times. My only feeling is that it's a bit hookless.
A little bit, yeah.
It's a bit kind of like, oh, that's a good bit. I like that bit. I'm never hearing that again. And there's just a little bit hookless. There's not one where I'm going to like, oh yeah, big sing along. Even like a middle 8 that you can sing along with. There is just kind of like, I kind of feel like it was written with that in mind. It was almost like, no choruses, okay? Like no things that people can sing along to. Nothing that's gonna,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm with you in that respect, in not even necessarily sing along, just things that connect that like,
you can grab onto,
that you remember.
Yes.
Like, it's one of those albums that just looking at, some albums you look at the track list and you're like, oh, I remember that little bit in there, or I remember this chorus. But this one, there's none of that. Even the songs that I've heard several times before I even heard the album, I'll still be like, wait, how does that one go again? Because it kind of just washes over you. And it sucks because it is one of those things that I can't say that it's bad. And if somebody says it's fucking great, I'd be like, you're not wrong. It's great for what it is. But
well, I'm at a stage where, hey, I'm still early listening, and maybe we both come back and revisit this, in January and go,
could be.
Do you know what? It was the 12th listen that did it.
Yeah.
It could be. It genuinely could be one of those. I don't think it is, but it could be.
Also, I have to admit, like, this is a case where, like, I don't like the album cover. It seems like Garbage Pail Kids. Do you know what Garbage Pail Kids are?
Yeah.
Do you have those?
Yeah.
It's very like Mad Magazine or something type artwork.
I really don't mind it, but the thing is, this is a classic example of the law of diminishing returns. I said you read the book and you found the movie disappointing. What it's like when you start finding a movie disappointing, and it's like you've given it a chance and it starts getting, and then you just sit there picking holes in it, going,
"Oh shit!
He was in the rain. He was in the rain, and his coat's not even wet. He's gone indoors, and his coat's not even wet. And he's like, even the fucking artwork has let me down."
Give me some credit. I didn't like this artwork at the beginning.
Oh right, okay, right. So you didn't like the artwork before you heard the album.
Yeah, it was.
But now you hate the artwork.
Yeah. It's even worse. It's like it would have gotten better with a better album. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much shit about it because, like I said, I agree. It's not bad at all. It's just it just didn't excite me.
I ordered the CD this morning, so shut up.
As we say a lot, like over on Cranked and Ranked, when we're talking about albums that we don't really like but they're not bad, we always say it has its moments, and that's what. Yeah. That's what it has its moments that I thought were cool, but that's about it.
Right. What's next?
Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely, because that is the only one that I will know anything about.
Yeah. This next one's pretty close to home for me, and plus it's I like the fact that this is a split EP.
Wow!
EP on each side.
Hello, let's go back in time.
So this is
Somebody who really likes Typo Negative, yeah.
The band is called Deadbody. They don't sound like Typo Negative. Have you seen that fucking album that's literally just a Typo Negative ripoff that came out? Oh god, it's fucking awesome. Anyway,
yeah.
So this is death metal. Deadbody is the band on side A, and then this band, Tribal Gaze, is my favorite death metal band from Texas. They are fucking amazing, and it's very like. I love this because it's like you get two different bands and both sides are, I don't know, around the 15-minute mark, maybe a little bit less. And it's just great because on one end, you've got Deadbody, who are a band from LA, from Los Angeles. This is more like a chaotic death metal, where they're kind of pulling from hardcore and other stuff too. And it's real heavy and real brutal. And then Tribal Gaze is a little bit more pulling from classic death metal. You'll hear a little bit of obituary type stuff kind of going on, or bands like that. And I just listening to this just reminded me of how much I love splits. I'm just like, and it's made me start to think, you know what? With the current climate of music, and it's so hard to like get things pressed or do tours. I'm like, I want to encourage bands, do more split albums, split EPs, because like I love it, because most of the time it's going to be a band that like I'm excited about and another band that maybe I don't know very well, and that's so much fun to me. Because like I knew some Deadbody prior to this, but now I'm a fucking huge fan because the songs on this are so great that I was just like, holy shit. And so like now and the great thing, these are both like relatively new bands, both born around pandemic time, 2020.
I like the idea of two bands like pooling their resources and going, do you know what? We can't do an album. Hey, neither can we. Let's pool our resources and, put a chunk of vinyl out and split the costs and all the rest of it.
And then you go on tour together to promote it. I mean, that's, I don't know.
Hey, steady on. You're doing the Rob Flynn thing now. Did you see that?
No.
The first single from the new Machine Head album has guest appearances from the two support bands who are going to be supporting Machine Head on the album tour when the album comes out and when the tour is.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah, it's not contrived at all. It's all just a complete accident. I mean, to be honest, I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. I can't believe somebody hasn't done it before. They haven't gone like, right, lead single, new album's out March 25. We know who the two support bands are going to be. Get them in, guest on the lead single, the title track.
Yeah.
And basically you release the lead single, you push the tour like all at once. There's no way it can't. And even the lyric video has like, right, now it's Lacuna Coil and now it's whoever it is, and it's like, okay, I get it.
You get everybody, and that just harkens back to one of my favorite sort of tour moments when Anthrax was touring with Public Enemy and they would get on stage together and do Bring the Noise. I'm like, that's fun as hell. And now Machine Head can do that with their brand new single, which will be nowhere near as good as Bring the Noise, but whatever.
It's all baked in. But but to not wanting to steal the thunder of Deadbody or
and Tribal Gaze.
Yeah. I just love the idea of a split EP, being somebody who's like, old school and remembers when split EPs were just coming out all the time. That's brilliant. It's just awesome to see somebody keeping that shit alive.
And if you're into like some great death metal, more modern death metal, then this is some
Are
of
they
the best
available?
shit.
Is the EP available digitally?
Yeah.
Or is it and you get both? You can only get like both bands. You can't buy. Well, I presume you can buy the tracks individually.
Yeah, you can. I do know that on Apple Music they're actually split. So you have a small EP from Tribal Gaze, a small EP from Deadbody that you download or whatever. Okay. But yeah, they're available like everywhere. It's on Maggot Stomp, which is actually a pretty bigger indie death metal and hardcore kind of label. Right. So they've got some support, but yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So I really enjoy it, and it really does I've been saying this for a while, that I think that I know how hard it is, not only just, bands that get older, but then just money and time, and how hard it is to like put together an album. And as a fan, for the bands that we love, we're always just like, well, put out something. We're hungry for something. And I just wish that, like, save a couple songs and, put out an album, and then maybe a year and a half later, go find some other band, and throw together a little EP. I just wish more bands did that, because it seems really rare. Like, I can only think of one other like split in recent and this is not even recent. Never mind. It's like 10 years old. I was thinking of Toxic Holocaust and Municipal Waste. I think that
is a long time ago. Yeah.
That was like 10, 15 years ago. But anyway, that's a really great release if you're into the death metal thing.
Cool.
And I like it a lot. So, and I've only got one more like actual new album to talk about. Do you have anything to talk about, or am I going to keep going?
I was purely in on the Better Lovers stuff. So yeah.
So I was saying that I got into a band because of an album cover, and when you see the album cover, you're going to know, like, oh, of course you got into this for the album cover, but because it's fucking Ed Repka,
hey, and it's got a skull on it and everything.
Yeah. So it's funny enough, because if you look at this, it looks like the name of the band is Gourd, but that is not the name of the band. The name of the band is Extorted, Extorted.
Right.
And they're from New Zealand. And this is death metal for fans of death and Morgoth, early 90s technical death metal. This sounds just like that. And even in production, it's very throwback, very old school. And literally, I follow Ed Repka on Instagram, and he'll post like, oh, I did the cover for this album. And I'll always go check out any fucking album that he does an album cover for. I'm still that basic metal dude that's just like, ooh, more Ed Repka. So, but this is really good. It's like, it's for like a throwback style. Did I say these guys are from New Zealand? They are from New Zealand.
You did.
This is really fun, and it for somebody like me that, like, I got into death metal around the early 90s. This is just like it's like brand new music that immediately feels like a nostalgia trip, but it also is just really cool songs and really great performances. So, yeah, so that's Extorted, not Gourd. It's Extorted.
I like that.
Every time I pick it up, I look at it and I go, their name is Gourd? I don't remember their name being Gourd. It's not.
Well, I tell a lie. There is an EP that's come out, but it's a re-release.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you were aware of this. I'm not sure if it's even out yet. I might have a pre-release, but go and have a look afterwards. So 200 Stab Wounds have re-released an EP.
Yeah, their earlier EP. I have that one.
Piles of Festering Decomposition.
Yep.
Including a Carcass cover. And that's the only thing that's come out recently where I've thought, yeah, I like that. I like my 200 Stab Wounds. Although despite the fact that I missed their entire performance when they were over here, supported by Entombed, and they were supporting Gatecreeper, and I ended up just completely missing them. So
they're great too. So if they come back through, I highly recommend it.
I was in the room and they were playing. I just wasn't watching them. I was just having a right old chat. Got it. Yeah. That's how it works out.
It happens. But they are a great band. Okay. Well, I have something else to talk about, but it's real brief, and it's just reissues.
Ooh.
I want to highlight these reissues because this is a band from my town of Houston, Texas. They're a classic band from the 90s.
Right. Okay.
The Galactic Cowboys.
Oh, well, there you go. The old Galactic Cowboys are back
So
in town.
so they just did these reissues. Well, I say reissues. These are the first time these albums have been on vinyl. These are late '90s albums. So like the horse that Bud bought, and at the end of the day, and then Let It Go. Fantastic albums, really fucking great repressings. Who did these? Brutal Planet Records did these, and I'm a big fan of Galactic Cowboys. They're, to me, one of those bands that I don't understand why they weren't bigger. Well, I guess I kind of do, because they're a little bit niche and kind of weird, but
they weren't weird enough for me.
Oh, really? They to me were like the right amount of weird to heavy ratio.
Right. And that's a hell of a cocktail you're talking about right there.
Yeah.
To get that absolutely right. And if they got that right for you, great.
Yeah.
They didn't get it right for me. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those where it's a real fine line.
Yeah, if you haven't heard it, I especially would try to check out this one At the End of the Day.
I think I owned that.
Oh, okay. To me, it's one of the ones where they absolutely nailed it, and I like the production of it is great, and the songs are great, but they're just like, and they're currently working on a new album. They did like a Kickstarter thing that
cool.
Helped them out with. So now
Kickstarter's still happening then?
Yeah. What did I say? Is that the right thing? Kickstarter? What is the thing?
Crowdfunding.
It's whatever the crowdfunding app is that I use. Is it?
Well, it's definitely not Pledge, is it?
It is no. It is Kickstarter. Yeah, Kickstarter. But they were fucking able to raise like $500,000 or some shit like that, like some crazy large amount.
That's insane.
That not only covers the whole recording process, but a budget for a video and a small tour.
Yeah.
Which,
that's
like,
amazing.
those are dudes that obviously they're not rock stars, and so they have jobs, so they can't just fucking pack up and leave and go.
Yeah.
As 60-year-old dudes go on tour. So I was happy to pitch in to help them with the new album, because the last one they did, which I think now is about 10 years ago, was also really good. So anyway, I always like to prop up the bands from my area, especially the ones that I feel were, people know them. Some people know them, but in larger groups, they seem to be kind of forgotten, and it kind of bums me out. But anyway, those are great reissues if you're into collecting.
They are one of those bands.
Mm-hmm.
They are like, I genuinely. Do you know what? I'd put them in the same category as Mindfunk.
I like Mindfunk, but I feel like Galactic Cowboys are way better. But yeah.
God, neither of them really. To me, they are classic '90s bands. It's like, what kind of music is it? Right, '90s rock metal. It's just really, really weird, really weird.
Yeah, honestly, bands like that are kind of like my favorite thing from the '90s. Because you're talking about like, going back into the '80s, you have like King's X, and then a little bit later you have bands like Saigon Kick is a really great example too.
Amazing bands
that didn't necessarily fit anywhere, but they really only could have existed in a major label atmosphere in the '90s. That's such a special time for that music.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love that shit.
I'm Saigon Kick. I'm with you, man. Hugely underrated. Great albums.
And go on. And Jason Bieler from Saigon Kick has a new solo album coming out next year. I've already heard it, and it is fucking fantastic. It is like, doesn't come out till like February.
Oh, is that you and your best friend Jason? Did he send you a copy?
He did. I've got more friends than you, Howard.
Brilliant.
But like it's so good that I'm just like, well, shit, that's already in my top 10 for 2025. So,
Oh well, that's a great place to start with music for 2025, an album you've already got. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't physically have it yet. I will, but anyway.
Yeah.
But that dude is still putting out amazing stuff. Like that's crazy to me how talented that guy is, and the fact that he wants to talk to me at all. I'm just like, shit. Who the fuck am I?
I know what you mean. I know exactly. Oh, I tell you what. There's going to be a new EP coming out in 2025 that's going to get me very excited. The Accused.
Oh shit!
Yeah, new EP.
How much of the original lineup is still there for Accused?
Not a lot, but there is an interview with Blaine in the can for Talking Bollocks. That's nice. A few months old now, but that will be coming out. And we talk about all sorts on that. It's really, really interesting because if you ever wanted to know what happened to the Accused and why there seems to be two bands and which one is the closest to being the original and all the rest of it, you'll hear all the dirty secrets. Yeah. I know, bands, mate. Bands. Don't ever fucking be in one.
Here's a good idea for a split EP. Two versions of the same band each put out an EP, and they put them together, and then they go on tour together as, LA Guns #1 and #2, or the Accused.
I thought you were going to say
#1 and #2.
I thought you were going to say, here's an idea for a split EP, Accused and Acid Rain, and I was going to bite your hand off and say, God, definitely.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, that would be really cool. Of course, like, all of the UK thrash fans are like, you should do a split with Zentrix. It should be Zentrix and Acid Rain.
We played with Toranaga on Saturday, so as another blast from the past.
But I mean, are they? They're not doing. They don't still do new stuff, do they?
They've only just come back. They only came back in May, so
I'm more putting up the two UK thrash bands that, in my opinion, are still doing good stuff, which is Acid Rain and Zentrix.
Well, that's very kind of you.
You start throwing around some other names, and I go,
yeah, okay, fine. Don't want to offend any of my friends there, of which I have less than you. Well, funnily enough, I was also looking at my my albums last. I cannot believe that the Ectomorph album. I was going to put the Ectomorph album in my top albums of the year, but it came out last year. And Till the Dirt, that was last year.
Yeah, that was on last year's top 10 for me.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I don't know. I think last year I really struggled. Well, I couldn't do a top 5. It had to be a top 10. Oh, I've just remembered another one from my, like, an album that, I mean, this will definitely be in my top 5, so I'm not going to give anything away here. But funnily enough, it was the subject of much discussion when a recent Acid Rain gig when we were all hanging out, and basically somebody mentioned the current release this year, Avenged Sevenfold album.
Oh, was that this year too?
Yeah. No
way, really?
That must be.
I'm sure that came out in 2023.
Hang on, I think you're right. No, 24.
Are you sure about that?
I'm not sure about any of it now.
To the Googles.
Yes, go on. Tell me about it.
Avenged Sevenfold. If I could spell, that would be even better.
Right. Live research, kids.
Avenged Sevenfold. Okay, now we're going because I can't even remember. The last album was Life Is But a Dream. Came out
24.
June 2023 is when
June 23.
Yeah. Life Is
Oh,
But
right,
a
of
Dream.
course. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is 24.
Yeah.
But fucking hell. Okay. Yeah. Right.
But
well,
that one, speaking of albums that I don't own that Avenged Sevenfold album or any Avenged Sevenfold album. But speaking of an album that occasionally I'll see the album cover and I'll go, oh, I'm gonna go listen to that again. That's a really odd one for me to all of a sudden be like, oh, I got to listen to that one again because I'm not a fan of that band at all. But that one,
well, yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, I've Waking the Fallen, which was fucking centuries ago. I saw them play live with the original drummer who's not around anymore and all the rest of it. Then the next time I saw them was at Wembley Arena, and a friend of mine had a spare ticket and said, "Oh, come along." And they were supported by Five Finger Donkey Punch, and and it was terrible. That Five Finger, they went, "Live for the truth, man," and they were just shit. And Avenged came on, and it was like five guys in their late 20s wandering around a mall. It was just like,
wow.
You doing anything? Nah, not much. Fancy meeting at the Drum Riser in 5 minutes? Yeah, okay. it just, I don't know. It just didn't really do anything for me. Yeah. And then, so when this album came out, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I still find myself playing it, a good 18 months after it came out, because there is stuff on it where I just go like, wow, that's fucking awesome.
It's just really fun to listen to too. Just like, just
challenging.
It's just because there's so much about every song that I just go, oh, that's really cool. And I can't even equate it with Avenged Sevenfold. Like I'll look and I'll go, yeah, this is fucking Avenged Sevenfold. And so I love it. I love shit like that. I would love for every band I don't like to come out and smack me in the face with an album that I enjoy,
Well, this is it. I mean, it's like, I literally saw about 2 minutes of a video and thought, mental note, need to check out the new Avenged Sevenfold album. Brackets, make sure it, to just check its shit. And no, not at all. And I then sort of really fell in love with the idea that they were like, they were taking their own website down. And I just imagine, that they'd been through loads of, legal battles. And I just loved the idea of like, being the A&R man, seeing the A&R man's face for Warner's when they hand that in. And he's literally like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is career suicide.
That's literally all I want every band to do. I just like, well, not every band, but like bigger bands. Like, all of them just put out something to where your management goes, "Are you sure about this?"
well, funnily enough, a friend of mine is it was big Avenged Sevenfold fan, and he said they always do a kind of experimental song on every album, and it's always the song I don't like. And he said and they've done a whole album of them, but I love the idea that they were putting out 10-track albums, and 9 was because we've got mortgages to pay, and 1 was for us. Yeah. And they've just got to a point and gone, let's absolutely flip that ratio. In fact, let's have none because we got mortgages to pay, because like we're all paid up now. So let's just do a whole album of experimental shit that like we really enjoy. Do that. See what happens. I mean, as far as I know, it was still successful for them. Like people they're still selling out arenas. They're still touring it, and people are still turning up to see them. I mean, because they're still going to play the hits too, obviously. But I would hope if I went to go see them, they would play a big chunk off of that album. But bands don't normally do that anymore. They seem to be doing quite a lot of that, that's great. Yeah, and like really odd visuals to match the really odd fucking songs as well. So I would love it if it's just a new chapter of the band starts and they just become like this, the Mach 2 of Avenged Sevenfold or whatever. And, absolutely. Yeah. And they just, it's like they went like, fucking Dylan Goes Electric, you know what I mean? They've just like they just basically just suddenly just piss off and they suddenly become like, art rock, having been just straight down the middle, Hail to the King, all that shit. Then all of a sudden they're just, what happened? They dropped a shitload of acid and suddenly wrote a load of stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. I wasn't expecting us to go off on a tangent about Avenged Sevenfold, especially because like the album didn't come out this year, as I well know now. Well, hey, maybe I can conclude that segment by saying
That's what I hope for in 2025. I hope for more albums like that from bands I like and from bands that I don't even know or don't even care about. I want to hear an album where I go, ooh, okay, I'm on board with this, because that's what I love. I love nothing more than being proven wrong. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah. But, and you know what? I really like the fact that, to go back to a band and album I mentioned earlier, I love the fact that like Mammal came back, unapologetically 90s. You know, the production has got this kind of 90s kind of feel and sound to it, and they've like updated their sound like a weeny bit. But this album could have come out straight after The Majority in like 2002, and yeah, there's just something really sort of rock and roll about it, and just great choruses. It's in, it's out. Some of it is really heavy and intense. Some of it is incredibly melodic. And yeah, I'm big.
Well, that's fan. Like they're Australian, right? They're an Australian band. I feel like in Australia there is a big the crowds are embracing like a 90s sound, because there are several bands from Australia that kind of have that kind of quality. And I see footage of them playing to fucking huge crowds. I'm like, well, that's fun that over there in Australia they're embracing that sound, because obviously being a guy that was a teenager during the 90s, I enjoy all of that shit. So
yeah, absolutely, me too. And also, I think it was this year. God, I really hope it was this year. We lost a great experimental band, Destrage.
Oh, we did.
Destrage.
Yeah.
They split.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, Are You Kidding Me? No. What a great album. Mm-hmm. I've got them on the show, saw them live, absolutely loved them. But yeah, they called it quits, which is a shame.
Now's the in memoriam section of our show. Who died this year?
and then of course, Seb Back and Skid Row, unfortunately, both still going. Motley Crue. Let's just not even fucking bother, shall we?
No.
Yeah. Hey, but maybe Kiss actually finally fucking gave up the ghost and finally fucked off forever.
You know what? I'm going to say that we probably have at least 5 years before
before a one-off show,
or whatever. I just know that that Gene's going on tour with his band. Paul's got his little band that they're doing, but I really feel like those guys are going to get a taste of like, oh, this is really nice to play these smaller venues and go on tour and not have to put on the makeup. But then give it a few years down the line, they're really going to miss it.
Because you got to feed that ego. And 2,000 close friends, isn't this fun? It's okay for a bit, but then you want 20,000 people who are just going to buy a load of your shit.
Yeah, and I'm one of them. So fuck, I don't care. They can do whatever the fuck they want, because I'm such a massive fan of Kiss that
I genuinely feel like you're saying that just to wind me up now.
No, I am.
I know.
I'm a massive Kiss fan.
No, but I know. But you know how much I hate them. So it's just like, it's just like, no, I am a massive fan.
I am. And I'm not only am I a Kiss fan, I'm a fan of the Kiss that even Kiss fans hate. So, I mean.
Yeah.
So
they can do no wrong in your eyes.
Well, they're not without ridicule. They are one of the bands that it's weird how much I love them, but I also will make fun of them at the same time. So there's a fun quality to that where I'm just like, there's a lot to pick at with that band.
No, I get you. A bit like, I mean, instead of, who remasters a fucking pinball machine before your great live album with the San Francisco Symphony? Where's the fucking Blu-ray of S&M? Where is the? I mean, it's one of S&M 2, which was vastly inferior. Where's the remaster of the soundtrack? Where's the Blu-ray? Where's that high def streamable version of it, and you fucking remastered pinball machines instead.
Here's mine though. Mine is, where is the vinyl version of Live Shit Binge and Purge for me? That's what I want. I want
of course. Yeah, it was
live
CDs,
album.
wasn't it?
There was CDs, yeah, and I would like a vinyl box set of that. They could have my money right now. But
but that is a lot of plastic and a couple of trees, really, isn't it? That's like,
hey, they got their own pressing plant. They can throw these things together, and then we'll pay the money. I don't know. The funny thing is that I actually really like the pinball game. I haven't played the quote unquote remaster, but there's like in my town there's like a throwback arcade kind of thing where they only have like a bunch of really old games. Yeah. And then they have a few newer ones, and one of them is the Metallica pinball. And every time I play it, I'm like, you know what? I'm not a pinball fan, but this is actually pretty fun. So, have you
ever seen a movie called The Guy Who Saved Pinball? I think it's on Amazon Prime. It certainly is over here.
No.
Have a little search for it, a Google of it. Watch it one night with your lady. You will not be disappointed. It's a movie, but it's based on a true story. Mm-hmm. And it's very different. It's very well made. It's funny. It's touching. Rattles along. It's done in 1 hour 40. But it's also fascinating and incredible to realize what a story pinball is, and how about it used to be illegal.
Holy shit! Really? I had no idea.
So, well, there you go. There's your in. There is your in. How fucking weird is that? Not quite as weird as if you're Scott Ian, and this Christmas you are selling an action figure of you from the 80s when you had hair.
How many action figures does he have now?
I mean, have you seen it? It's hilarious.
I mean, maybe I have, but I'm not interested.
It's from the 80s, and so it's properly got like, her suit, legs and arms, and huge mop of hair, and you can take the hair off and put another set of hair on. So one's mid headbang when all the hair's flying up, another is like the mullet, and I'm just like, what are you supposed to do with that?
I
play 80s Anthrax and dance it around to it.
No, you buy it and you don't ever take it out of the box and you put it on your wall. That's what adults do with toys. Because no kid is going to buy that. But I don't know. There's a part of me that like I know that even for a band the status of Anthrax, money's not great. So totally every year, like I see him do things like he does handwritten lyrics and he'll like sell them. And I'm like, yeah, dude, if people want to buy your shit and, especially for bands like that have been a part of my life for most of my life, I'm like, you guys have done enough for me that you sell whatever you want. I'll buy the things that appeal to me. Everything else, I'm just like, have fun with your action figure. I'm only interested in buying the Kiss action figures. Thank you.
But it's also the way of the world now. Yeah, and this doesn't apply to Kiss, but it's also the way of the world. Ultimately, if you aren't selling records, you got to sell something. So that's how it is. Every band has to diversify into every single aspect that they can.
You know what? Speaking of that, this is not specifically music related, but it is related to this, to like bands, something massive back in the day that all of a sudden isn't making money, and it's shocking to me. I read a story that I think it may have been Eric Idle that was saying that like they no longer really make any money from any Monty Python stuff, and now their money's kind of running dry, and that blows my mind. I'm like, you mean there aren't people buying millions of Monty Python things every fucking year? It's crazy to me.
But it's humor that is now very much of its time, which, funnily enough, leads me to. I sat down with my girlfriend, and she'd never seen Anchorman. And I was like, right, you got to see Anchorman. Switched it off after about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, this is aged terribly.
Yeah,
Really
it's
bad.
weird. It's weird because like I've noticed that about a lot of movies that I really love. If I sit down by myself and watch it, I still love the shit out of whatever movie it is. But if it's somebody new watching it, it immediately makes me look at it and go, this isn't great.
Yeah.
Or these jokes aren't that funny. And so it's really interesting to see these things age. Even something like Anchorman that's like barely 20 years old, maybe.
It's funnier to quote than it is to watch.
Yeah.
And the memes are funnier than the thing itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, right, okay. Also, the weird thing is, so many people in there now you recognize from other stuff. And they've gone on to be like really successful in all sorts of areas.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was the first movie that I remember learning who Paul Rudd was Anchorman.
And Steve Carell.
And Steve Carell, yeah.
I mean, Steve Carell is basically just like, oh, who's that like stupid, funny little guy? I've never seen him in anything. And it's like, well, he can like, carry a movie on his own name these days. So it is kind of weird.
Yeah, on the same token, I tried to get my wife into The Young Ones, and that didn't work. And it almost broke my heart a little bit because I had to be like, all right, I guess that I've known this show now for 40 years. So, okay, I have to admit it is really weird and kind of dumb. All right, fine. I'll just enjoy it on my own. But it's a little bit heartbreaking to be like, you don't think this is hilarious?
Yeah,
like, what
absolutely.
the fuck is this even about? I'm like, it's not about anything.
But it's even more weird when like you agree with them as well, and you're like, this really hasn't aged well at all.
In that particular case, I watch The Young Ones and I still fucking giggle my ass off through the whole thing.
Me too. But Anchorman.
Anchorman, yeah. There's a group of movies from all around that time, like 40-Year-Old Virgin, like all of that stuff. The stuff where like a lot of it was like ad-libbing and like ensemble kind of comedy work. A lot of those comedies, you go back to them and you're like, it's not as great as I remember it being. It's still entertaining, but not quite the dying laughing in the theater kind of vibe that you remember,
I think I look back at a lot of that stuff now and go like, well, they are clearly having a good time. They are loving this. But hey, well, look, there's some Christmas movie recommendations for what not to watch with the family.
Just go watch The Young Ones, everybody, and show it to your family.
Maybe give Anchorman a miss. I don't know. It's up to you. But look, another year of old bollocks comes to an end. And, I think we'd both like to thank you for listening and thank you for watching.
Absolutely.
People on the Old Head YouTube channel. Don't forget to go there if you want to see this. And if you want to listen to this.
Oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish first.
If you want to listen to this, it's on the Talking Bollocks podcast.
I was just going to say, I want to thank you for continuing to do this with me, because like I remember when you first asked me to do this, I was like, this is fucking awesome. H wants to do shit with me, and now it's been 3 years of doing this, or just 2? Is it 2 or 3 years that we've been doing
Feels
this?
Like about 30.
But anyway, like I just like I always think to myself, if months go by and H doesn't reach out to me to do a Bollocks, I will understand. And so every time you're like, you free Monday? I'm all like, oh, fuck yeah, we're doing another one. It's just so great. So
look, mate, I really enjoy doing this. And funnily enough, one of my very close friends said that he really enjoys this because it's one of the few things that I do where there's some back and forth and we don't always agree. And I mean, I'll do a few podcasts and I do some that, people are unaware of entirely. But, I I can end up with people kind of agreeing with me a lot, and it's kind of cool when we don't. I mean, it helps that you have a dreadful taste in music.
I know. I'm such a huge Acid Rain fan. Who would have thought?
I know. Yeah, I know. That always comes back and slaps me in the fucking face. I never tire of that. But no, honestly, mate, I really, really enjoy doing this. And, and this is a lovely way to go out on the last ever episode. It's not. We'll be back next year, folks. Don't you worry.
We'll be back when we're back.
Yeah, we'll be back when we're back. But when we are back, we will be back. Thank you very much.
You'll know it because you'll see us.
Oh, yeah. And also, just to be clear, my Patreon, there is a free trial on every single tier. So why don't you just pop along there? New year, new you, new me, send me money. Okay.
And every single episode if you're on YouTube, you can just go to the video description and there are links to all that shit. So very easy if you just go right over there.
And if you're not listening if you're not watching on the YouTube channel, there are links in the podcast description that will take you to wonderful.
Don't even have to get up off your ass. You just click a link and then go subscribe.
Have you heard how shit are we at doing this, right? It's literally like, yo, kids, remember, smash me a like, subscribe, do whatever. You know, and we're just literally like two old men going, just hit the thing. You don't have to get up.
Don't be a lazy fuck. Just go click some shit and go listen to us. Jeez.
There you go.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.